Kenny Pickett. Going to Kenny Pickett is a crime against humanity for Browns fans. And, because right now it's just Pickett and Watson in that quarterback room. They traded out DTR in the move to get Pickett. So it's Pickett, it's Watson. Watson obviously is not going to be healthy enough to play next year. He probably never plays another snap in the NFL if you ask me. So really it's just Pickett. But then here comes the other news of the day, and this is what we really wanted to talk about. Future Hall of Famer likely, and also former Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson, who is now a free agent, has made his 2 destinations outside of the Pittsburgh Steelers, made it public where he's visiting, not just today and not just today, but tomorrow as well. That is your Baptist Health Orthopedic Care off-season football report. Wilson is visiting the Cleveland Browns today and the New York Giants tomorrow as he tries to make a decision on where he's going to ultimately end his football career. Again, that's your Baptist Health Orthopedic Care off-season football report, and we'll get into the ramifications of that. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Is joint pain affecting your quality of life? At Baptist Health Orthopedic Care, our team is experienced in traditional joint replacement surgery as well as new, less invasive treatments with the goal of returning you to what you love as quickly as possible. Learn more by visiting baptisthealth.net/ortho today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care combines its resources of experienced physicians and leading-edge treatments and technology to provide advanced orthopedic, foot and ankle, joint replacement, spine, and sports medicine care. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho for more information today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has offices conveniently located in Palm Beach County through the Florida Keys. Learn more by visiting baptisthealth.net/ortho. Russell Wilson's in a pivotal point in his career right now, C-Cat. Where he goes this offseason is going to dictate how we see him as he exits literally the public eye as a professional quarterback. This is the fall off of his career. We've seen the come up. We watched the warm up. His prime, he had some great years with the Legion of Boom in Seattle. It turned out in a decade there, he had, 8 playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl championship, and a hell of a lot of success. There were some down years there as the fall off started with the Broncos, and then last year with the Steelers was, it was up and down. They made the playoffs, though. I think that was a successful year last season.
We were calling Mike Tomlin a genius midseason.
Yeah.
He made the quarterback switch that many of folk disagreed with when benching Fields for Russell Wilson, because there was Russell Wilson less than 100% in summer practices leading up to the season. We thought it was a grave mistake. But the Steelers were better with Russell Wilson than they were with Justin Fields.
They were in the long run. They absolutely were. And as Russell Wilson looks to make this decision, right, between the Steelers where he's at now as a free agent, the Browns, and the Giants, I can summarize it here. What his decision-making process will tell me about how he feels about the back end of his career in these 3 ways, right? Because for me, the Browns, the only way that makes sense for him is if they just back up the Brinks truck and offer him a deal he can't refuse. Like, the only way that the Browns is the most beneficial situation for Russ as a player, as a person, is if it's most beneficial for his bank account. When I look at the Giants, I see a situation that is best for the person, Russell Wilson, because I'm sure Sierra would love living in New York. I know the expectations out in New York for the Giants are not as high as what they would be if he remains in Pittsburgh. Plus, if you're with the Giants and you don't do so well that year, who are we really looking at? It's about Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, who have been screwing this thing up time and time again. We're not really pointing the finger at the quarterback who's on his way out the door, again, in a hopeful Hall of Fame career. The best situation is for Russ to stay put in Pittsburgh, play with his guy DK Metcalf, who he has a relationship with from his days in Seattle, as well as stay with Tomlin, who repeatedly gets the most out of mediocre quarterback play. And also, he has had 4 head coaches in the past 5 seasons. At a certain point, you should probably want a little bit of continuity. Russell Wilson's not taking the Browns' visit today seriously. He might be using the Browns and the Giants in general for leverage. I believe all of this culminates in him remaining in Pittsburgh and kicking it where he cut his teeth a little bit more, regaining some validity for his career last season. It doesn't make sense, these other 2 stops.
Yeah, Russell Wilson knows what dysfunction looks like in an organization from his time in Denver. Though it was short, it was tragic, and embarrassing and really calamitous.
Yeah.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers know what bad quarterback play looks like.
Oh, man.
So wouldn't it be a nice compromise where you couldn't get the bell of the ball, you couldn't get the best quarterback opening available if you're Russell Wilson, but at least they have each other. It makes sense to me, especially like you mentioned, getting DK Metcalf, because that team was vastly different when George Pickens got hurt. Ooh. That team was unrecognizable, not only when George Pickens got hurt, but now no more Najee Harris, which he was a glaring weak spot in that team. He just couldn't get down the field.
Right.
He was a very bad north to south, south to north running back who had no giddy-up.
Yeah, he's 3 yards in the cloud of dust.
Exactly, and the dust is him falling down. That was Najee Harris. But now Pickens has a running mate. They don't even have a clear number one receiver between those two, and that's a good thing.
Great.
You have 2 number one options. He's got to stay in Pittsburgh.
Russell Wilson should stay home. The Browns, I don't know what the hell their quarterback situation is going to be going forward, but I do know no matter who it is, have pity on that man's soul, because we've seen what it's done to even the great prospects that have gotten there. It's never ended well. And for the Giants, that's the one I'm most curious about, which way they end up going. That one holds the most weight because, again, you got 2 guys trying to save their job, and you have a team that does not seem like it is ready and fit to compete. They're the 4th best team in their division, and even that feels like a lofty expectation for them. Like, they have no shot of being better than the Commanders, the Eagles, or the Cowboys next year, unless you have another, like, Cowboys unraveling dysfunctional year. But remember, last season, if Dak Prescott stays healthy, that might have been like a 9-win team, 10-win team. They didn't do that bad based on what we saw happen.
Right now, the only quarterback on the Giants roster, I believe this still to be true, is Tommy DeVito. And the Giants don't have a top 2 pick.
Yeah.
Do you think that they need to trade up and just go Cam Ward or nothing? Or do they stay pat, take their medicine, and wait for the considerably deeper quarterback draft, which will be next year?
They might not have the power to swing for Cam Ward because, again, they are on their last leg, right? Like Joe Shane, if he trades future draft capital, he might not be able to get that past Mara because he might not be there to suffer the consequences if Ward doesn't pan out. So I don't know what that's why I say they're the most intriguing team this offseason based on what they do with the quarterback situation, because you need a win-now quarterback. You don't have an opportunity to get the best quarterback in this draft, that's Cam Ward, unless you trade up, and you might not have the flexibility from your owner to actually do so. So we're going to learn a lot about their relationship and how they're going to try to play things this offseason as well. It gets very interesting, but what I can promise you is Russell Wilson ain't walking through that door. He's not. This is all leverage for him. He just wants the Steelers to want him back. And I'm not sure if the Steelers are trying to play down his ability to re-sign. They're probably trying to get him at a good number. I don't think there's any validity to the Steelers wanting Aaron Rodgers in their locker room. Can't see that. But Russell Wilson needs to stay put. That's my only take on that. And if he does leave the Steelers, that would leave them in an awkward spot because I think Rodgers would then be their only answer. Because you ain't going to the Kirk Cousins well. That's really quarterback desperation.